Godzilla Kong: The New Empire is a sequel to Godzilla vs. Kong and the newest movie in this MonsterVerse franchise. In this movie, Godzilla and Kong are basically living in their own little terrains on Earth somewhere. You know, Godzilla's just roaming around on Earth, Kong's in Hollow Earth. They stay there and everything's fine. They're not fighting each other for dominance anymore. Monarch's basically been able to monitor both of them, keep both of them accustomed to their life. However, when the threat of a new pair of monsters has now awoken and is now ready to basically wipe out all of mankind, unfortunately now, Monarch and humanity need these two titans to come together to take down this threat together. I enjoyed Godzilla vs. Kong for what it was. I mean, it took the two most iconic movie monster titans of all time, put them in a movie, and had them just battle each other. It's not a movie you go to for the story or for the human characters or any kind of sort of emotional feel it tries to throw at you. It doesn't really stick the landing with. You're there to see Godzilla and Kong get into an all-out free-for-all against each other and just be entertained. And that's exactly what I went to Godzilla Kong: The New Empire for. And you know what? I got pretty much that. Because frankly, that's exactly what this franchise is at this point. This is the McDonald's of the movie industry, basically. It's not good for you, it's not something you should live off of, but every once in a while, it fucking hits the spot. That's exactly what this movie right here. It is certainly by no means the fancy-ass steak dinner we got with Godzilla -1, but you know what? McDonald's, every once in a while, hey, it's good. I do think that is something that did kind of hinder this movie going into it a little bit. It's like after we experienced the masterclass that was Godzilla -1, now really I think you could say the standard for Godzilla movies has been set pretty high. Because we've seen now that Godzilla can have an amazing, incredible movie, or at least a movie like Godzilla can be like that. However, this movie knew what it was, stayed in its lane, and just embraced it. And you know what, seeing how it's doing at the box office, clearly people are okay with that. People are fine with a fun, dumb movie about these titans just going all out against each other. So let's just get into the positives of this movie. First of all, I will say, I think Kong in this movie gets the most characterization for himself out of any of these characters, really. Between Godzilla, the other titans, the human characters, you could argue this is Kong's movie. Because what the movie does with him is it's really having him explore Hollow Earth more. He's trying to find his family, he's trying to find his other kind, because he's really beginning to believe that he is all that is left of his own. Has you rooting for him, has you pulling for him, and when he comes across other Kongs, kind of, you're hoping that they're the kind that he can bond with, he can mesh with. It kind of forms a little buddy dynamic with this mini Kong that's referenced in the trailer. Forms an odd little kind of older brother, little brother kind of dynamic with him, which I thought worked for the movie, and it was nice. There's even one scene in particular where Kong finally meets this other group of big gorillas like him, and you feel like there's a conversation going on between him and these other Kongs, but you know, they're not talking, they're not saying anything, they're speaking in like gorilla dialect. You obviously have no idea what they're saying, but you feel like you know what they're getting at. Made for a pretty intense moment and a surprisingly engaging scene. Also, visually does the movie look great? Yeah, the Titans look awesome, Hollow Earth looks great once again. There are definitely some moments that are clear CGI and clear green screen, but I was able to roll past that. And the human element in this movie, I mean, are you attached to any of these characters? Do you give a shit for any of these characters? Not really, no. I mean, Brian Tyree Henry, he's in this movie once again. He's there for comic relief. And you know what? He does bring it when he needs to. I will say though, I do feel in this movie once again, they do put a little too much focus on the humans. Like, it's not quite like they've entirely taken a backseat and they just completely put the monsters in the forefront. I have said before, Kong is definitely the biggest character in this movie, but they still put a little too much focus on the humans when I don't think they really needed to. Like, you have the whole thing going on with Rebecca Hall and the young deaf girl that she's raising. They're trying to make the whole, like, you know, mother-daughter sort of dynamic really blossom between the two of them, but you're not really invested into it. Even with that little girl, I'm gonna say this right now, they take her character into this direction that I wasn't the biggest fan of. I mean, what I liked in Godzilla vs. Kong is she had that connection with Kong, that rapport, you know, she was able to communicate with him through sign language a little bit. And you know, towards the end of Godzilla vs. Kong, she kind of helps fix things as shit's really hitting the fan. But it did it in a way where it didn't like totally like Mary Sue her. This movie kind of does Mary Sue her. It takes her from just originally being this like young little deaf girl who's separated from her home, and she just starts bonding a little bit with Khan. Now in this movie, she's just, you know, she's kind of like named as this like messiah, as this chosen one. Like she kind of becomes the key to everything when the new evil titans in this movie start attacking the earth and are attacking Khan. She really becomes the key to essentially getting Godzilla and Khan to unite and basically stop everything from happening. I'll also say this much right now. Godzilla, I mean, in these MonsterVerse movies, you're slowly starting to realize he doesn't get a whole lot of screen time. I saw something on Twitter, I think, or X now, that showed how much screen time Godzilla gets in these movies. It's not much. I talked about earlier how Khan's kind of the star of this movie. Make Godzilla the other star of this movie. I mean, you know, it's called Godzilla, Khan, the New Empire. Godzilla should have as much screen time, as much of a role, and as much of a star presence as Khan. But he doesn't really. He's the one who kind of keeps getting sidelined for the human characters we don't give a shit about. So yeah, I do wish they kind of did more with him. I mean, he doesn't really show up for really anything until the final act. I mean, you see bits and pieces of him throughout it, but I mean, it's really the final act is when Godzilla really shines. And yeah, that's what I'll say this much right here. When it comes to these monster fights, these monster brawls, the action that's going on, everything that you come to the movie for, I will say, is that fun? Is that enjoyable? Is that, dare I say, awesome? Yes, it is. I mean, hell, in this movie, they fucking arm Godzilla with this absolute, like, mech fist that allows him just, you know, block attacks and just punch through everything that comes his way. That's kind of cool. Like, soon we're gonna get Mecha Godzilla, and he's just gonna get this fucking Iron Man Warhammer suit, and the third one is what's gonna happen. But regardless, the moments when the Titans are throwing down, it's a lot of fun. It's total chaos. Destruction happens. I'm sure human lives were all decimated. But it's fun, it's thrilling, you feel like the two Titans in this movie that Godzilla and Khan have to team up against, you get why they have to do it, because these things are a fucking menace and they're going to wipe out humanity if they don't do it. That is kind of what I like seeing with the two Titans in particular, Godzilla and Khan. It's like, yeah, they battled each other in the last movie for dominance, but you do feel like you sense some sort of begrudging respect between the two of them. Like, you know, they know what the other's capable of. They fought against one another. They have that respect, that mutual kind of understanding a little bit. So much so, it's like in this case, it's like, yeah, we both want to be the top species, but, you know, if these guys do what they're doing, there won't be an Earth for either of us to rule over. So yeah, when they team up, when they have to do battle against each other, it's really enjoyable, and I like seeing them go off against these guys together. So all in all, Godzilla Khan, the New Empire, it is exactly what you thought it was going to be. Khan really stands out in this movie. Godzilla, I wish, got a little more screen time. The monster fights, when they go down, they're awesome, they're fun, they're a great time at the theaters, especially if you've seen it in IMAX like I did. The human element, I could give a shit for it. The little girl turned into this chosen one, little messiah. I didn't really care for that. The story's pretty weak. The writing is very generic. Ultimately, it's like this. If you've enjoyed the MonsterVerse, if you enjoy these movies for exactly what they are, then you will have a good time with this movie. If, however, they haven't been for you, and especially I will say this much, if Godzilla -1 really just, like, pushed you to believe, like, that's what Godzilla's standard should be, then yeah, you're definitely going to find a lot of flaws in this movie. For me, as much as I did love Godzilla -1, and I did think that was amazing, there is still always going to be a part of me that just likes mindless, fun action in movies like this. Henceforth, I can check it out, I can have a good time, and if you're like that, you will too. So that's all I gotta say, guys. Thank you so much for watching my video, and as always, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.